I want to welcome all the DELAC representatives and allow them to introduce yourselves. The DELAC representatives, the NVUSD administration that's joining us. I will start. My name is Elba Marquez. I am a representative from Vintage High School. I am also this year's DELAC president, a title I carry with a lot of, what's it called? With a lot of pride, joy, and just excited to be part of this. If we want to go ahead, Matt Manning, if you want, Mr. Manning, if you want to introduce yourself, and I can start calling people afterwards.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Matt Manning, and I am the Director of Elementary Curriculum Instruction and English Learner Services for the Napa Valley Unified School District, and very happy to be with all of you this evening. Thank you.
I'm going to be calling names in the order I see them on my screen. And I have Lori.
Let me unmute myself. Yeah, I'm Lori Gaynor, and I'm a 4th grade teacher at McPherson Elementary and a first-time DELAC representative.
Welcome. Monica.
I'm Monica Reddy, the Director of Curriculum Instruction and English Learner Services for the secondary level, and it's a pleasure to be here tonight.
And I hope I'm saying this correct. Lilia Tapia.
Yes, you said it correctly. Good evening. My screen just froze. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, great. Thank you. My name's Lilia Tapia. I'm the Napa Junction Elementary DELAC representative this year. I'm very happy to be here. I have 3 children. My youngest is Pedro, 5th grade at Napa Junction. And I have a 12-year-old in the middle school here in American Canyon. And I have a college student. So I'm happy to be here this year. And I appreciate everybody who's here. Thank you.
Lilia, thank you for reminding me that it's always ideal that we also speak of why we're involved in this, and that should be our kids, our children at the district. I'm going to go ahead and go with Yolanda.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Yolanda Isabel Méndez. Mi hija estudia en Harvest, está en 7º grado y es la primera vez que yo estoy aquí en esto del DELAC como presidenta. Gracias.
Bienvenida y a otro año más, ¿eh?
Gracias.
Viviana.
Hi, good afternoon. Viviana Loera, Coordinator of Parent Engagement here at Napa Valley Unified School District. Very happy to be here.
Dr. Rosana Musetti. Not that you need an introduction, of course.
Oops, sorry about that. Thank you, and President Marquez. Hi, my name is Dr. Rosana Musetti, and I'm the proud superintendent of schools here at the Napa Valley Unified School District, and happy to be here tonight.
Julia Pérez. Perdón, Julia Peláez, mi amiga, disculpe.
No te preocupes. Gracias, Elba. Hi, my name is Julia Peláez. I'm the rep for Independent Studies for the first year, and I'm really excited to be here. I want to say thank you to the staff in Independent Studies and for the ladies making this happen. I have 3 kids. My son, he's an 8th grader in Independent Studies, and my daughter, she's a 6th grader at Shear Elementary, and my nephew, who's in Napa High, a 10th grader. Thank you.
Cindy Ramirez.
Ay, perdón, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Cindy Ramírez. Tengo 2 hijos, uno en la middle school y otro en la high school. Este es mi 3er año participando en la reunión de DELAC. Estoy ansiosa por aprender. Represento la Middle School y la High School de American Canyon.
Pat?
Did you, President Marquez, did you just call me? Yes?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Oh, good evening, everyone. I'm Pat Andrew Jennings. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Instructional Services, and I'm just absolutely thrilled that all of you are here tonight, and also all of the people that are watching as well. So I'm just excited that we are gathering quite a following on this important topic of how are we serving our English learners. So thank you for being here tonight, and I will be speaking to you later on regarding some funding.
Thank you. Chris? Chris Yepson?
Yeah, Chris is our webinar host tonight. So Chris, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you. I'm Chris Yepson, work with the technology department. I've been with them for 10 years and this is great to watch.
Thank you for all your help, Chris. I know we couldn't do it without you. Hilda?
Buenas tardes a todos. Yo soy Blanca Hilda Jiménez. Tengo un hijo en la Napa High y otro en West Park. Y gracias por invitarme.
Bienvenida. María Ballines?
Good afternoon. This is my second year being a DELAC representative. I have 3 daughters, 2 at Bishop, which is the school I'm representing, kindergarten and 2nd grade, and then have a 6th grader at River. And that's them in the background.
Ariadna Rodríguez?
Hola a todos, mi nombre es Ariadna Rodríguez y estoy representando a la escuela Pueblo Vista. Mi hijo, el más chiquito, está iniciando kinder y tengo a otro hijo que está en Snow y él ya va de salida. Durante estos 5 años he estado como en todo este tema de la presentación de los exámenes, qué significa LBAC, qué significa ELAC, y entonces por eso es que este año, y viendo que mi hijo está empezando kinder, por eso es que estoy aquí. Me interesa poder apoyar en este proceso de aprendizaje.
Mayra,
just a moment. I just want to make sure we promote Chris Elizabeth Martinez, please. Thank you.
Mayra Contreras.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Mayra Contreras y estoy representando a la escuela Snow. Tengo 3 niñas, una en la Snow en 5º grado, otra en Harvest en 6º grado y una pequeña de 2 años.
Bienvenida. Elizabeth.
Hola a todos, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Elizabeth Martínez. Soy representante de la escuela West Park. Este es mi 3er año como representante y represento a DELAC y estoy muy contenta de estar aquí con ustedes. Tengo 2 hijos. Como ya mencioné, mi hijo en 5º grado ahorita en West Park y mi hija que está en 10º grado en la High School en Vintage. Gracias.
Tengo también a Vanessa Barbosa.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Vanessa Barbosa. Estoy todavía en el trabajo, pero quise atender esta meeting. Estoy representando a Bel Air Park Magnet School. Yo atendí Bel Air hace muchos años y ahora tengo a mi hija de 9 años que está en 4º grado y mi hijo de 7 que está en 2º grado y quiero aprender más de esto. Esta es mi primera junta.
Muy contenta de que nos acompañes. Very happy that you are joining us. Rosario Mondragón.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Rosario Mondragón, soy representante de DELAC de Escuela Willow y también soy vicepresidenta de DELAC. Pues muchas gracias a todos por estar aquí y espero verlos todavía por más tiempo por estos rumbos. Gracias.
Sé que nos falta práctica. I know we've been missing a couple of practice because we haven't done this in some time. Rosario is also the rep for River, just FYI. Jacqueline Salazar.
Hola, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Jacqueline Salazar y yo tengo dos niños, uno en high school y uno en segundo de elementaria.
Gracias. Antonia Covarrubia.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Antonia Covarrubia. Estoy representando la escuela Donaldson Way aquí en American Canyon. Tengo una hija allí en 4º grado y tengo otra en la middle school de American Canyon en el 8º grado. Y buenas tardes y mucho gusto de estar aquí con ustedes. Apenas son mis primeras veces aquí.
Mucho gusto. Gracias por acompañarnos. Nice to meet you and it's nice having you here. María Herrera.
Hola, mi nombre es María Herrera. Soy representante de DELAC en Willow. Tengo dos hijos, uno en Harvard y otro en Willow.
Gracias. Thank you. I just clicked the button and everything changed from my screen. So if I haven't called you, please be patient with me. I have Yolanda.
Hola, buenas tardes o buenas noches a todos. Mi nombre es Yolanda Valdivia. Soy representante de DELAC de la escuela Donaldson Way y también tengo Donaldson Way, perdón, American Canyon, Canyon Knox. Ay, discúlpeme, es que estoy nerviosa. Es la primera vez que estoy y veo muchas personas. Y también tengo dos hijos en American Canyon High School. Y también estoy, ¿qué sería? Bueno, representando a dos escuelas, American Canyon High School y Canyon Knox. Ay, gracias y buenas noches a todas.
Don't worry, Yolanda. We all get nervous, and it doesn't go away. You just enjoy it a little bit more as it goes. I have Sandra Rodriguez. Sandra, can you please unmute your mic? Sandra, no sé si puedes activar su micrófono, no le escucho. Disculpe. Gracias. Descuida.
Buenas noches a todas. Soy representante de NVUSD de la escuela de aquí de Napa por primera vez. Estoy un poco nerviosa. Y tengo una niña en kinder, 1º grado y 3º grado en esta escuela.
Congratulations. Felicidades. Tengo a Coral. Coral, ¿podría activar su micrófono, por favor?
Hola, buenas noches. Tengo dos niñas en Norwood, una de 1er año y otra de 4º año. Y estoy representando a la escuela Norwood. Gracias.
De nada, bienvenida.
Gracias.
Vanessa Magana.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Sorry. Okay, sorry, I'm having issues with my phone. My name is Vanessa Magana. I'm representing McPherson Elementary. This is my first year. I have 3 children, 2 at McPherson and 1 at Vintage. So I'm also nervous and I'm excited to be a part of this.
Then I just need to interrupt just to promote 2 more people. Chris, if you could please promote Norma Ortiz Barraza and Silvia Avalos, please. Thank you.
Brenda Ortega.
Hi, my name is Brenda Ortega, and I have one child. He's attending Shear, so I'm representing, I'm the DELAC rep for Shear. I have participated on ELAC, but not DELAC. This is my first time, so excited to be here and learning.
Welcome. Norma Ortiz. And it's just introduction, the site you represent, and if you want to tell us about your children and what school they attend. And maybe Norma is still connecting because I see a couple of dots. We can go with Silvia Ábalos.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Silvia Ábalos y yo soy secretaria del DILA, que ya va a ser el segundo año, pero todavía me siento muy nerviosa con todo lo del programa.
Norma Ortiz, I don't know if you're able to activate your mic.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, hi. My name is Norma Ortiz, and I'm representing Redwood Middle School. I have a 7th grader at that site. Hola, buenas tardes, noches. Mi nombre es Norma Ortiz. Estoy representando a la escuela Redwood y tengo una hija en 7º grado.
Gracias, Norma. Thank you. Quick reminder, can we please make sure we have our mics on mute so we can continue? Solo recordar, I'm sorry, I forget that we have translation, so I'm just gonna try to stick to the English part. I want to go ahead and make sure that everybody was able to receive the agenda. The agenda link was sent, the agenda email was sent this week. And if you don't have the agenda, feel free to write in the comments. Maybe we can add it in there so you guys can open it and be able to view it. With that being said, the first topic in the agenda is approval of the minutes. Just a reminder that thank you, Mr. Manning. For those of you that is your first year, what usually happens is every year we take down notes. We go ahead and, so maybe I jumped ahead, I'm sorry. You see, I get nervous too, and I'm also learning. So just lead by example. It's okay for you guys to mess up. I mess up a little too every now and then. So everybody did introduce themselves. I'm very happy that everybody's here. I'm very excited. We keep growing as a group, and this just means that the effort that the district is doing, the effort that you are doing as parents is definitely paying off. So welcome everybody. And we're gonna go ahead and talk about the minutes. I would like to know if there are any questions in regards to the minutes. I sent out an email pretty late last night. Sorry, it's the only opportunity I had to some of the email addresses I had available. What we usually do is ask who would like to help me approve the minutes. If you didn't read them, it's okay. I want to go ahead and give an opportunity to those who read it. If there's any corrections, anything that you guys want to address, or if they're ready to be approved. And I think the term is, I'm asking for a motion to approve the minutes.
Looks like we do have one question coming in from Ariana.
Elba, yo no tengo la agenda. ¿Será posible que compartan el link de la agenda?
So just FYI, is there any way we can put the agenda link on the chat? So
we don't have chat. We don't have chat with the webinar, but
I forget about that.
I can make sure that there's all the participants are on the email and send that out. Sure.
Okay, and again, if you didn't get a chance to read the minutes, it's okay. I really want to make sure that we are we are making sure we move gracefully with the time. And if anybody read the minutes, please help. I would like to see if I can get a motion to approve the minutes. Not that they're not important to read or that I don't want to hear from you, but I just want to make sure that if somebody did read them, that we get a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, so we have two. So we'll go ahead and the minutes are approved. FYI, I usually send an email with the link of the minutes from the previous meeting a couple of days, sometimes the day before the meeting, but it will get to you. Sorry, I'm running a little slow today, so I apologize and I appreciate your patience. What we're gonna go ahead and do is kind of talk about the next topics of the agenda. And because I am on Zoom, thank you. We want to go ahead and talk about the celebration of progress, where we began last year and where we are now. It's a topic that myself and our Vice President, Rosario Mondragon, are going to talk a little bit about. In my case, as you can see, I still get a little nervous. I still get a little lost. And what I just want to make sure that everybody understands is that there's no way to train for this unless you're doing it. I started with ELAC when we moved out here in 2016. I attended my first ELAC meeting at Salvador when it was a school, and my first DELAC meeting in 2017. They were in person. They gave a lot of information. Everything was out there if you really wanted to participate, but it was more of an informational meeting. Still very good, still a lot of information, but as a personal point of view, I would see it like, this is what we're doing, give us a little feedback, and then next meeting is this is what we're still doing. But I just didn't feel that it was parent-led. It was led very well. There was a lot of good communication. It's not that it wasn't working, it was a good thing, but this last year, the idea was to have DELAC be led by us parents. I'm the first one that got this role. I actually ran for the role, just like we are doing here, that we're talking, we're showing our interest. This is a position that's going to open up next year, Mr. Manning, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct, yes.
And I encourage you to take the leap of faith. I don't know what I'm doing. I just know that I know I have the support from the district. I have ideas that the district wants to hear, not just I, but all of us as DELAC reps, as ELAC families. And I just really think that the progress has definitely been moving very, very well to a very positive area. And I understand that you're going to be nervous. The lingo, sometimes you don't know how to say it, when to say it. You're going to be talking with your mic muted, but at the same time, you're going to be learning. So when this position opens up, I want you guys to try it if that's what you wish to do, because you will have a lot of support. And just because I might not be the president doesn't mean that I can't be here as a reference, as a colleague, as a co-parent. So I hope that you guys take the leap of faith to really try to advocate for all of our families. And I know you already have it in you, because that's why you are in this meeting. Rosario, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Pues, ¿qué les puedo decir? Lo mismo que Elba. Entramos juntas en este negocio de ILAC y DELAC juntas, ambas apoyándonos y siempre tejiendo nuestra red de soporte en la escuela, con nuestros padres de familia, con el distrito. Entonces, para mí ha sido importante asistir a todas estas juntas porque nos ha enseñado a crecer juntas en cuestiones de información, en cuestiones de aprendizaje hacia nuestros hijos. Entonces, yo de verdad también las invito a que sean parte de, pues es importante tener representantes hispanos en estas juntas, que tengamos como digo por ahí, a veces no sé inglés y ya se me olvidó el español. Pero sí necesitamos padres de familia, líderes entregados a su comunidad para que este programa siga, para que todo esto siga de pie y podamos seguir siendo la voz fuerte que somos hasta el día de hoy.
Rosario, ¿cómo has visto tú el progreso del año pasado a este? How have you seen the progress from last year to this year?
La verdad, estoy sorprendida por los números al día de hoy. Me sorprende bastante y estoy muy orgullosa del trabajo que se está haciendo, que el distrito nos está apoyando. Las escuelas también que nos están apoyando y nos están también empujando a ser parte de. Y de verdad, gracias por estar en estas reuniones, gracias por el tiempo, pero también sobre todo gracias por ver para el futuro de sus hijos y por nuestros hijos. Gracias.
Thank you. Sorry for the interruption. Can we please have Maria be brought back as a panelist? Maria Ballines. Another addition to this item is also, sorry, again, I'm a little bit lost. It's the regular addition to future DELAC agendas. And please, Mr. Manning, remind me if I skipped something.
I think we're going to move into actually the roles and responsibilities and then finish up with your with the additions to the agenda. So
thank you.
Yep.
So thank you, President Marquez, and thank you for starting with those celebrations for many of you that are here. We also are going to ground ourselves in what are the requirements of ELAC and DELAC. As a reminder for those of us who have been a part of the organization, the committee, and for those of you who are new to the organization, to ground us in our role and responsibility. So tonight we'll go over briefly the topic, and then I'll hand it back over to Director Manning. So our ELAC and our DELAC are mandated committees in order to support our students who are English learners in our schools and across our district. And we receive funding for our English learners to provide that support. And it's based off of two areas. So English learners, the goal is to help support them become fully proficient in English and continue to support that home language. And so we'd like to do that and support as much and as quickly as possible within our schools. And secondly, our English learners to meet our state standards and continue to make academic progress towards those state standards. Secondly, we're required to report out to our community, and it's a pleasure to see how involved our community is tonight on this webinar alone, and the efforts of our leadership to help make that happen, and our parent leaders, and our site leaders. So I just want to pause and say thank you for that. But it's a requirement for our schools to report out to our community on how our funding for our English learners is being spent, and to address any community interests with that funding for our English learners in particular. Next slide, please, Mr. Manning. So when are you required to have an ELAC or a DELAC? And to start off, when there are 51 or more English learners in your school district, we're required to have a DELAC, so a District English Learner Advisory Committee. And you'll often hear that acronym as DELAC. Many of you mentioned that you're also a part of your ELAC, which is amazing, and I know our site leaders are engaged with you. And so a site is required to have an ELAC, an English Learner Advisory Committee, when there are 21 or more English learners in a school. And so they need to have that functioning English Learner Advisory Committee at the site. So the roles and responsibilities and the topics that you'll see throughout the year on the agenda that we build with our parent leaders is developing a district master plan for educational programs or services and plans. And you'll hear more about that tonight from Director Manning regarding our West Ed report. Conducting a district-wide needs assessment. And so much of the input from last year was directed around getting getting from the adults in the organization, from our English learner families around what is it that you need to know more about, learn more about in order to help us work together as partners to support our students who are English learners. Then establishing district programs, goals, and objectives for programs and services with our English learners, which you'll hear about throughout our DELAC. And finally, develop a plan to ensure compliance with these. So monitoring to make sure that we are have the applicable teachers and teacher aides in our classrooms in order to support our students with who are English learners. And the three more important ones that are our roles and responsibility for the committee are reviewing and commenting on the school district reclassification procedures. So when a student meets those requirements to be considered fully English proficient, having clarity as a district English learner committee around what those are and how we support those and reviewing those. And then reviewing any comments on written notification that's required to be sent to families regarding that. As a part of the educational code, our DELAC acts as an English Learner Advisory Committee. So your role is here to provide input, to advise our staff on what we can be doing, and to comment on our local control and accountability plan that gets shared and provide feedback and input specific to English learners. So with that, I will hand it back over to President Marquez for our additions to future DELAC agendas.
Thank you. Just FYI, if we can please promote Esvedi as a panelist, that would be Esvedi. She is the rep for West Park. Thank you. I also want to include Rosario in presenting the future additions to our agenda. One of them is to have an ELD Student of the Month celebration. Just like we have Student of the Month for your school, make sure that we bring our Student of the Month for ELD. We want to celebrate reclassifications. As Ms. Reddy said, you know, reclassification is when the student is promoted out of the ELD program because he is proficient now in the English language. And last but not least on the items is to have a DELAC representative school level share out. After talking about these points, I don't know if Ms. Mondragon wants to add anything. It's okay if you don't. I don't want to put anybody on the spot. I want to go ahead and open the floor for questions, comments from DELAC representatives. I do have to remind you that each DELAC representative gets a 3-minute limit to either share a question or share a comment or ask questions. And the only thing you need to do is activate your mic.
I have a question, Elba.
Go ahead.
Hi. As far as the additions for the agenda, will this be effective immediately for the next meeting?
I know it takes time just to resume all the Student of the Month. Those are definitely plans that we are trying to implement this year. I do not have a set date for when we're going to start. It's definitely on the planning board, but just like we started with maybe having a few DELAC representatives last year, and now we are with a great number this evening. It's just those ideas that we have, and we're definitely working diligently to get you a set date for when this is going to start. But it is planned to hopefully do some of those or one of those this year. Am I correct, Mr. Manning?
Yes, we would be able to do all of those this year and start some of that next meeting. You're correct.
And additionally, the reclassification happens at certain points throughout the year, so it'll be timed based off of when our students are able to meet those requirements.
Okay. Thank you. Can I ask another question?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Related to the DELAC rep school level share out, can you say a little bit more about that? What exactly that is?
I'm gonna have Mr. Manning take that because I'm still a little bit confused in that one, but that's a great question, Julia.
So one of the requests that had come up as part of our last year's DELAC meetings was to have an opportunity for schools level DELAC representatives share out some of the great things that are happening at your school. So in meeting with President Marquez, we talked about that, building that in to each meeting so that there's an opportunity for some of the DELAC representatives to share at each meeting. It's not possible to have everyone share at every meeting, but to build in so that there's an opportunity for people to share over the course of the year. This is some of the great things that are happening at your school level ELAC meetings.
Thank you.
I see Ariadna, your hand is up. Please unmute your mic.
Era igual que Julia entender un poco más a qué se refiere con DELAC Representative School Level Share Out. Y entonces lo que quiero entender es que es el que nosotros podamos compartir qué está pasando, qué acciones está tomando la escuela, qué es lo que está pasando en nuestra escuela con respecto a los estudiantes aprendices del idioma inglés.
Mr. Manning, can you answer that one?
Sure. So yes, that is exactly what the share out would be. Is an opportunity to share exactly what you're describing. Yes.
Okay. Y otra pregunta, con respecto a, ¿hay algún plan con los estudiantes de lo que les llaman long-term ELAC, más bien, aprendices del inglés? O sea, para los que siguen sin pasar el examen, ¿hay algún plan de acción? Sobre todo cuando somos mamás de cuarto y quinto y que nuestros hijos siguen sin acreditar los exámenes. No sé, me gustaría escuchar también al respecto.
Sure. So we can talk about that as part of when we talk about the reclassification process, and then there's also a parent learning series that we're offering that we started last year that was led by Viviana Loera, and we can build that into a parent learning series as well. Absolutely, that's such an important topic.
And that's such a great idea. Norma Ortiz.
Well, yeah, just to mention, in the past we've had well, I have had a great experience with the previous, just for the record, with the previous leadership team. The only thing that for now that I'm going to mention is that, and I also mentioned it in the board meeting, is that we didn't have a, usually every year, since you're mentioning that this is a parent-led committee, and that's the purpose, we didn't have that presentation we usually do every year, led by parents. So that's something I would like to see that continue as we move along. In terms of the share out, I think that it's also important that we also mention things that are happening, but also what the school sites need, because that's a great subject of discussion in terms of what parents are reporting in our ELACs. We want to make sure that the needs are covered, that the district takes that accountability and that follow-up with us in these meetings as well. So I think those are items that we need to always address, and I look forward to really seeing how that's going to be structured this year. So I really want follow-up from the district, because I mean, we voice our concerns, we voice our comments, and there's not a lot following through on that. And I expect that to be transparent in these meetings, given that we have all leaderships here, you know, we have top leadership here from the district, and it's the best opportunity that they tell us, you know, not just inform us of these required or mandated topics, but also like tell us in simple language, you know, this is what we're doing, following the demands that you guys are seeing in the schools, in every school site. I think that's very important. And simple language, you know, there's a lot of, this is my 5th year at least, and not all the parents that are with us today have had that opportunity or experience. And in this past year, I saw that we didn't have enough time to address our comments. I mean, 1 hour is not enough. So if we're going to have, I'm thinking 2 hours from now on, or is it just today? And another thing is that the best time for all of us to meet? Because I would like to see if there's another, like a sooner time we can meet. I have a lot of commitments, and I also take DELAC and ELAC serious, and I want to make sure that I'm there for every commitment I have. Thank you.
The little that I can address to that is that we definitely value your experience, value your time that you have been committed to ELAC and DELAC throughout the years, because that is the type of parent leadership that we want. We want to hear from you. And I think it would be a really good idea to brainstorm a way to bring these needs of our schools, maybe have a live document, something that us as DELAC reps can put stuff in there, and if it's tracked, it's going to help us, you know, look for that follow-up, look for that progress, really have that sheet to go to and see, has this been taken care of? Maybe Norma talked about this the first meeting, and here we are on the 3rd meeting, and that subject is still there. So I think it's just a very good idea to see where we can meet to bring these things, these concerns, I'm sorry, and kind of follow up on the progress. I know your questions and concerns were broader than that, but I'm just kind of brainstorming on what can really work as a whole, that we can make the district and ourselves accountable for what we're bringing to the table, what our needs are, and the progress to the solution. Mr. Manning, I don't know if you want to add anything else. And I know there were more items in Norma's concerns than that one, but that's the one that I kind of started brainstorming on.
And
go ahead. Go ahead.
I thank you, President Marquez. I do want to say that, you know, during these meetings, you know, Director Manning, Director Reddy, we take notes and sort of make sure that we're following up on the concerns that are raised by our families. I've heard that one parent raised about wanting to know more about our long-term English learners and the progress we've made, especially given, you know, the hybrid learning that happened last year. We know that there is a need for that. And I heard Norma talk about the concerns around just making sure that we're accountable to the concerns that are brought up, and that we bring them and we address them as we go through the year, and that we will. I mean, last year we were laying the foundation for our DELAC and adding the structure in place. We will hear more later on this evening around the WestEd report and information around that, and so all of that contributes to the work this year. So there will be more to come. And I don't know if Director Manning, if you had any more to add to that.
No, that's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Norma. Thank you, Mr. Manning and Pat. Cindy, I see your hand is up.
Sí, gracias, Selva. Agradezco la oportunidad que me dan de expresarme. Igual que Norma Ortiz, me gustaría proponer que la reunión se hiciera un poquito más temprano. Esta es la segunda reunión que atiendo este día y a las 7 yo me tengo que desconectar para reunirme y me hubiera gustado estar completa la reunión de DELAC. Preguntaron qué experiencia hemos tenido en las escuelas. Yo represento Middle School y la High School de American Canyon, y me satisface comentarles que nosotros tenemos esas reuniones, buscamos esas estrategias para poder escuchar a los padres y poder nosotros como escuela buscarle una solución antes de venir a DELAC. He tenido la oportunidad de enviarle mensajes al señor Matt y él me las ha respondido oportunamente. Nosotros también tomamos una estrategia, una encuesta que hicimos a los alumnos que pudieron ellos salir de DELAC, perdón, de ELD, de aprendizaje del idioma de inglés en tiempos de pandemia. Porque aquí podemos los padres estar hablando mucho, pero ¿qué es lo que piensa el niño? ¿Qué son esas motivaciones o incentivos que ellos tuvieron para poder salir de DELAC en tiempo de pandemia? Y la información fue muy bonita porque ellos en el tiempo que tuvieron libre en casa se dedicaron a leer, se dedicaron a conocer el mundo a través de la lectura. Entonces, esa motivación de ese tiempo ocioso en este momento, con la ayuda de un padre, de una madre que se sentó con ellos a leer, eso les motivó. Nosotros en esta reunión de DELAC podemos resolver, disculpen, el mundo, pero el mundo del niño él lo resuelve. Y lo resuelve a través de motivaciones, a través de las oportunidades que tiene, a través de los incentivos de una casa que puede tener un ambiente de amor, un ambiente de paz. Y entonces esa sería mi intervención, mi recomendación. Ayer tuvimos la reunión de ILA y ya nuestros líderes, nuestros principales, ya nos sugirieron una reunión para poder hablar cosas que necesitamos escuchar de cada una de nuestras escuelas. Tener ese tiempo es bien importante antes de llegar a DILA. Y están abiertos, el señor Mad está abierto, Eva Márquez está abierto, la señora Paz está abierta para mandar cualquier tipo de preguntas e informaciones. Gracias.
Gracias, Cindy. To sum up, I just want to say that, again, I've been involved in ELAC and DELAC for also a long time. I really appreciate that we are making this more parent-led, being able to not just write a postie and, say, maybe this will work, but really have the leadership, the people that can make things happen, our superintendent, Dr. Musetti, Pat Andy Jennings, Matt Manning, Viviana Loera, those are the people that we need to be talking to, and they're here listening to us. They're here giving us their time. And again, I had a great experience with DELAC in the prior organization. I see that it just keeps getting better. It's growing. And I always have the same, Rome wasn't built in one day. We have this structure or this idea that has been, that we've been putting piece by piece, all of us together for a few months, I want to say, because it wasn't a full year. It was virtually. We really didn't get to meet, to work, to really brainstorm when you can feed off of each other's energy. So I think we are definitely showing progress. I think that we are on the right path. And the fact that we're all here bringing in our ideas, sharing on our concerns, thinking this looks good, but we need to tweak it a little bit here, is what we want to hear. And that's the purpose for this meeting, and having that feedback that Cindy just brought, about we can be discussing and planning, but if we don't focus also on hearing from the students that are the ones in this program, we're really not going to find the solution or their needs, because as adults, we're not facing the struggles they're facing, being the English learner. So I just want to check on time. Is there anybody else that might want to pick up on this? I think we're ready to move to the next topic, but I'm just gonna see if anybody wants to raise their hand, add a little bit more. And I see Norma's hand up, but I don't know if it was from the prior comment she made. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and assume that.
Can I share something?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, what I do, I want to acknowledge and appreciate that at Redwood Middle School, leadership did an event and they invited the community partners like Puertas Abiertas and others. And I thought that was a good way to start off the year at Redwood Middle School. I think that was a great way to bring more families, to get to know, you know, I mean, I know them, but other families, it's a good way to show that they're doing their best to really make sure that parents are getting involved, because the reality is that at many ELACs, a lot of parents are not involved in the level they should be, in my opinion. And there's a number of factors for that. So I'm optimistic that things are going to get always better, but I mean, we gotta always make sure that we as parents are there supportive, because it's not all on the child. We lead our children, right? They're minors. And for that, we need the district to really acknowledge those needs and you know, have discussions. Like, for instance, in these types of meetings, I feel it's important that there's a space that we could share what we want in future agendas, share happenings that are in our school sites, like all these things. They don't have to be extremely formal, but there's that space. And I feel that when that space is available, there's more participation. So I would love to see that, you know, we have that space. I don't know at what point of the meeting, perhaps at the end, I don't know. That's something logistically we could plan, but to really say what we want to see in future agenda meetings, or simply just like one thing that one of the parents shared in our we've had already two ELAC meetings, is that they want to see how they could best support their child with reading at home. And what came up to me when I was thinking about that is the not just phonics, but also comprehension, especially right now with all the regression that's going on with as a result primarily with COVID. So I think that's a topic that is very important, because reading builds up on everything, you know, comprehension. And if students are successful in that area, they're going to be successful in all the other classes.
Sorry, I was trying to activate my mic and I turned off my camera. On that point, very important that we lead by example. I also want to share for those of you that are not aware, the district is having a parent learning series. It's something that's ongoing, different topics. You can find the topics of for October, and I can't remember, there's some in November. They're offered every Tuesday. There's different topics. The links are on the district website. All the meetings are translated in Spanish. So again, there's definitely a lot of things out there that our district is doing. I appreciate what Redwood is doing. Knock on the door of your school, see how you can support, see what you can bring to your school, because you might not be the only parent wondering that. And that is a big reason why we have this leadership group, you know, to make sure that we are hearing these ideas from the district, that we are also engaging ideas in our school, and not just from the district to us, our school, but like Norma just mentioned, something that worked in her school, she can bring over here. I like the idea of making sure that we can share. I know there's more than a couple of schools in Napa. So I think it would be great if we can break it down. We only have 4 meetings a year, just to see how we can give this space to each of you to share. And I'm going to take Yolanda's comment. And I do have to be mindful of the time and move on to the next topic, but I love that everybody is engaging. So I appreciate that. Yolanda.
Sí, gracias. Cuando ahorita dijeron de compartir, también yo quería hacerles saber que en la reunión de ELAC, que fue en la Harvest Middle School, nos dieron, invitaron a un maestro para apoyo de la tecnología, que eso es bien importante, porque muchos padres le tienen miedo a la tecnología y al teléfono y no saben usar el app. Entonces yo los invito para que también inviten a otros padres a que vayan a la escuela de adultos para que tengan lo de apoyo de la tecnología. Yo ya asistí, ya voy a ir a mi segunda clase. Yo tenía algo de noción, pero he aprendido más cosas nuevas y también me llevé la Chromebook de mi hija para aprender más. Y así nosotros también podemos estar pendientes de nuestros hijos. Y ahora que todo esto es un cambio, pues todo ahora ya no es por papel, sino con esto de la tecnología. Y muchos papás realmente necesitan que los motivemos a que vayan porque no saben usar esta tecnología nueva. Gracias.
Thank you for sharing. With that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next speaker, Matt Manning. He will be presenting the West Ed findings.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for your questions and comments. So I'm going to move us into a discussion about a report that I would like to share with you. So last year, the district invited an outside organization called West Ed to come in and help us understand how we can better support our English learners in NVUSD. So we invited them in to help us understand how can we do a better job supporting our English learners in all of our schools in NVUSD. I just wanted to start out by kind of giving you a sense of what West Ed is. So it's a nonprofit organization that does exactly what I just described, partners with school districts all across the country to help them dig in and understand what are some of the practices, what are some of the structures and systems in place that are working in support of English learners, and what are some of the pieces that are not working that we need to address and improve upon. So that's what West Ed is, and that's what we invited them to come help us do in NVUSD. And so I want to share with you what our driving questions are, what the guiding questions that we wanted to help, we're seeking help from West Ed to answer. So the first question is, who are our English learners and how are they performing on key metrics? Key metrics means assessments, tests that they're taking. How are they doing? How are they performing? How are they learning in relation to other students in the Napa Valley Unified School District? We wanted to know, how are they experiencing school? How are they feeling about school? Are they enjoying their school experience? Are there elements of the school experience that our students feel like really are working well for them? And are there pieces that they feel like are not working well for them? We also looked at that through the lens of teachers and administrators going into classrooms and observing the experience of some of our English learners by shadowing English learners throughout the school day. So really just wanting to understand, what is that school experience like for our English learners in NVUSD? We also wanted to look at what are some of the training opportunities, professional learning training opportunities that teachers have had in NVUSD that have helped them support English learners? Are there some that have worked? Are there others that we need to do more of? Sort of where are we with the training and professional learning that we've provided to our teachers in Napa? And then the last piece was, how are parents experiencing engagement with their children's school? So how are the parents feeling about the experience of our English learners and how we're supporting our English learners in NVUSD? So in order to answer that last question, and that last question is what I'm focusing on tonight, we're calling this the West Ed presentation part 1, because we'll come back and present on some of these other questions as well. But we wanted to start with the parent piece, because our DELAC representatives from last year, many of the DELAC representatives actually took part in a focus group, and the West Ed team who was here to help us and learn with us, they met with DELAC last year and heard from them. They conducted surveys. So we wanted to make sure that we came and presented back to you what were their findings. And they presented to our school board in June of last year. So they presented their findings to the school board. We're continuing to work with them next year on a plan. But we wanted to make sure that we came back to our DELAC and our parents of English learners to present what the findings were in general. Okay, so our focus is on that final question. So based on the survey results, the parents who responded to the survey, this is what they were telling us. 78% of the parents feel like they are welcome at their child's school. 75% have opportunities to talk with, engage with their child's teacher. 77% receive communication in a language that they understand. 74% feel teachers are interested in their involvement. So 36% said that they receive, of the people who responded to the survey, said that they received information about college entrance requirements. Only 24% said that they receive information about financial aid for college students. So what that tells us, these are two very important topics that we want to make sure that parents are learning about, that we're providing information. So that tells us that we need to do a better job at providing that information for our families. And we've talked about the parent learning series as an example. That's a perfect way to make sure that we're getting that information out to parents. That can come up in ELAC meetings as well, and school site level parent training. So we're aware of that and really mindful of that low number and wanting to improve in that area. So these were the survey results from the parents who responded to the survey. So I also wanted to share, we wanted to share the trends of the focus group. So what the parents said in the focus group, and that again, that was a group of parents, most of our DELAC parents who shared, they met just with the team who came in from WestEd. There were two representatives, two partners that we had from WestEd, and our DELAC parents met with them without any of us there, just with them. So what the parents said is that it was very clear that parents really value being a part of their child's education and they want to be involved in their child's education. They also said that they wanted to be included in decisions that affect their children and that they're willing to participate in leadership activities. So parents really want to be more a part of what the decisions are that affect their child, and they're willing to engage with us and learn with us and want some training in how to and developing as leaders. They also perceive that access to quality instruction varies by school. So at some schools, they feel like there's English supports for English learners in place, more so than in other schools. That was the perception of the parents that we met with. And then the final piece that parents mentioned is that they strongly recommended, they wanted English language development to be provided before or after school so that students didn't have to be separated from their peers and teachers during the school days. So that was the final recommendation and finding of that parent group. So another area that the WestEd team investigated was around parent communication. So a couple of trends that came up, a couple of suggestions that came up from parents is that they wanted more audio messaging in addition to written messaging for families who some families may not read in any language, Spanish or English or whatever the home language may be. So just wanting that audio messaging to simplify some of the messaging that might come through only in a written format currently. Some of the parents also said that they speak other languages and that the information that's coming to them, if it's not because we typically communicate in Spanish and English, they don't have information coming to them in a language that they understand. So that was another area for us to think about and begin to work on. So the recommendations from the WestEd team, based on these interactions with parents, these are the recommendations that relate specifically to parents, is to redesign the engagement strategy for parents and families to involve them more in decision making. So they're recommending that we implement some of those structures and put in place methodologies, ways for parents to continue to engage with us more. So we're aware of that and we'll want to work on that and engage around some of the policies and programs for English learners. So as we're developing programs or thinking about programs that we want to implement for our English learners, we need to bring parents into that conversation and have them be a part of the decision-making process. And then also implementing communication strategies to ensure that the district and schools are providing accessible and comprehensive information to parents about post-secondary or college opportunities. So what that means is, again, just making sure that parents are really clear, what is the pathway? What do I need to do as a parent? What is the school doing, the school district, to help my child be successful in school? I'm going to sneeze. I'm not going to say in school, and then move on into college. So those were two of the recommendations that came forward. So that's the WestEd summary of the report that was shared at the board meeting again in June. And we wanted to again just make sure that we brought that information back to this team because many of you were part of that process of engaging with WestEd. So again, we will continue our partnership likely with WestEd. That's going to the board for approval, the board, NVUSD Board of Education for approval this coming board meeting. And the next phase of the work is to begin developing the master plan, a plan to address the recommendations that have come up from the WestEd team in our work with them. So that will happen this year, and that will involve parent engagement as well. So we will involve parents in that process. So this is, again, just to close, this is just the parent piece of that report and those findings. We'll continue at our next meeting talking about the student perspectives because they also engaged with students, interacted with students, had student focus groups. So we really want to share with you and are excited to share with you the student piece as well. So I'd like to go ahead and open up for questions for us.
Yolanda, I don't know if your hand was up because of the prior comment or.
Sí, se había quedado.
Norma Ortiz.
So I would like to know if, how WestEd is going to continue participating, Mr. Manning, with all the development of these meetings. I don't know if for the future master plan, any adjustments or updates with that. So how are they going to continue working with us, meaning district? And also, is there a possibility you could please share all these slides? That's what the previous leadership would do. They would post them in the website, the district website, and then have the minutes, the agendas, everything available there. But I'm very interested in having copies of the slides so I could digest because it's a lot of information.
Sure, absolutely. The slides are actually already linked in the agenda. The slides are in the agenda for you to view. And then we'll be linking all of that in the district website as well. So the slides are there.
And the slides are actually already up on the website in a new format and a drop-down menu, so you can see those.
In terms of that, Ms. Redding, you guys are recording this webinar, so now they're going to be posted because previously I didn't see that happening last year.
The recording will be posted as well.
And then with regard to the first part of your question, Ms. Ortiz, we will be engaging, we'll be continuing to work with WestEd if the board approves our contract with WestEd this week. And they will, I wouldn't expect to see them here as part of our DELAC meetings, but we will be working with them and they will be engaging with parents and we'll actually be engaging with parents at this point, and WestEd will be helping us with the writing of the plan. But we'll be working on the plan and sharing that with parents of English learners to get input and feedback along the way. Are there other questions, comments?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Julia.
Hi, thank you. I'm wondering if we have further questions related to WestEd, the findings, is that something that we can discuss next meeting?
We can. We'll continue to bring this topic up at every meeting. At the next meeting, we'll bring the findings for the student question around how the students are experiencing school. So we'll continue the conversation around WestEd. It's a very important topic. A lot of time and effort was invested last year on the part of parents, teachers, district staff. So we'll continue the conversation and as we move forward.
Can you admit Maria Ballines to panelist? I'm not sure if she has a question or her hand is up so she can be transferred to panelist.
I can just allow her to talk.
Perfect.
And President Marquez, I was wondering if Julia has a question regarding what was presented tonight, and then we could answer that question, or is it something about a future part of the WestEd presentation or findings, Julia?
No, it was just a general question. As Norma mentioned, it's a lot to digest. It was a lot of information. So I just thought I would ask in case. Thank you.
You're welcome. And also just wanted to add that there was a presentation, WestEd did a presentation to the school board in June, and that is posted on the website as part of the board meeting. And you can also see their actual slide presentation where they go through all of the findings. And we could probably add that to our DELAC information on the website as well.
Okay, I don't see any more hands, so I will be introducing our next speaker. That will be, sorry about that, having families arriving. I'm gonna go ahead and introduce our next speaker. Monica Reddy will present on middle school redesign. Thank you, sorry.
No problem. It's always great to hear kids in the background. So thank you. I'm going to go ahead and take a minute to share my screen to give an update tonight on the middle school design process. So as a reminder, in the spring, we had a task force that came together to make a hard decision around the closure and consolidation of our middle schools. And so with that tonight, we're moving forward with that process of creating a district-aligned comprehensive middle school plan with some key components embedded in that for particular school sites. So our timeline for this work, it started in August of 2021 with a committee of parents, staff members, principals, and students from all of our school sites, our middle school sites, and inclusive of our principal and a Principal Uribe from NVLA, who's a future principal of the new Middle School Language Academy, and a team to support her in that process. And developing a vision and some design principles, which I'll share with you tonight, which are in draft form. And those really ground us in the work and allow us to design programs and priorities and bring that vision and principles to life throughout the next stages of this process. In the spring, we know that we have a transition coming for our students and our staff and our families as we close one school and consolidate another school, and just naturally, transitions that happen from 5th to 6th grade, 6th to 7th grade, 8th to 9th grade as a former middle school principal and high school principal, those normal transitions are incredibly important in a traditional year. So tending to those transitions and providing support. And then looking forward to the fall of school opening in our new experience based off of the work that we've done as a community to really focus our attention on one of the most important developmental times of the lives of our children. They make a lot of changes and growth from 6th to 8th grade. And so I appreciate the attention to the middle schools from our board, from our instructional division, and from our school sites and from our families that's going into this over the course of the year. So with that, I'm here tonight to give an update on where we're going over the next year, where we are right now, and what's next, with an opportunity to get feedback from you all regarding the middle school experience. So this is the first of our board annual priorities for this year. It's important to our board and to our community. And so with that, we have components of it that have been identified as success criteria for us. So what will it look like if we're successful? So the first one is for the overall middle school design process, having a cohesive vision for the comprehensive middle schools. What is really that foundation, that foundational experience that all students will have, no matter what middle school they attend based on their attendance area. Having a key set of design principles and agreements that bring system alignment, that bring consistencies across our system as far as programs and opportunities for our students. And then having safe, responsive, and supportive transitions, as I spoke to a moment ago from my previous experience. Second to this, one of the areas that came from the task force was really this desire to strengthen our dual language immersion program, particularly in the middle. And I'm excited for our state to acknowledge the importance of students becoming bilingual and biliterate by the time they leave their senior year. And so I feel like our work around this is in alignment with the state's latest goals regarding bilingualism and biliteracy. So we are really focusing on strengthening the dual language immersion program by building a dual language immersion school. And so Principal Uribe is an amazing support in that work as she looks to the future of that middle school language academy. And then Director Manning with a team from Browns Valley and Shear and some support are working on designing the TK8 opportunities at Browns Valley Elementary School and Shear Elementary School. Director Manning, is there anything you want to add to that before I move on?
No, I think that we're good at this point. Thank you.
So where are we now with the work? With the overall middle school design process for our comprehensive middle schools, Redwood, Silverado, and American Canyon, we have a team, as I mentioned, of parents, staff members, our principals, and members from our district leadership team and students coming together. They came together in August. They're coming together again next week. And in August, they developed the vision and design principles, and we're looking forward to coming back together next week with some feedback, some of which will be collected from you all tonight, will feed into that next meeting and help us with our next steps in this process. For the Middle School Language Academy, in August, July and August, created a mission and a vision for the school. And the next step of that process was having the board recommend a citizens advisory committee so that we could recommend a name for this new Middle School Language Academy. As you can see from the dates, we're still very much in that process and look forward to next week as we come to that final meeting for the naming of the school. And then last but certainly not least, we have our TK8 and the inaugural first class started at Shear Elementary School. And so Matt and Principal Gardner have been working with that sixth grade class as they've started to develop that TK8 program. So what's coming up next? We've had the opportunity to have our district leadership spend some time across our divisions, across the various areas that we support, such as transportation, maintenance operations, human resources, instruction, communication, all divisions across the district to provide some input and insight as we go through this process. As I mentioned, we're going out to stakeholder groups, one being tonight and hearing from families and students. I had the pleasure of being in American Canyon this morning at American Canyon Middle School with a group of 10 amazing students, the highlight of my day, hearing from them about their experience. Our principals are with their leadership teams gathering feedback and input. And as I mentioned tonight, we'll gather feedback and input that will feed forward into our coming committee design meeting next week with our partner Design for Emergence. And we're preparing for open enrollment so that families can hear about where we're at and what they can expect when their student attends or continues in their experience at our middle schools. In the spring, we look forward to, like I said, transitioning, really having some community events where families can feel welcome and supported, as well as our students and our staff who are a part of this transition as well. So our individual sites will have some support with that work. I mentioned already the work around the naming, and then our next step is working on open enrollment, the branding, marketing, and advertising once we have that name, and additionally starting to look at the programming for our dual language immersion program at the middle school level, working with our two-way immersion partner around that work. And Director Manning is in the process of planning and developing the key components of that TK8 program model, and so I don't know if you want to add anything at this point.
Yeah, I do. I'd like to just add that open enrollment, the TK8 programs at Browns Valley and Shear will be part of the open enrollment process for this coming school year. So we will be offering 6th and 7th grade at both of those schools. and more information will come with on that. We will be sharing information along with the rest of the middle school options coming up later in October. Thank you.
Thank you. So moving forward into our vision and design principles for the middle schools, for our comprehensive middle schools, and for the Middle School Language Academy. We spent 2 days together with our design partner who designs from an equity lens, and she was able to, 2 of them were actually able to help us come together through some different activities to generate this vision. And I have to say that it started with our students, and our students, panel of students and the students who were participating really grounded this work in what they were feeling and what they were experiencing and what their needs were in our middle schools. And that was definitely helpful to begin our work that way with our students at the center of our design process. So the vision of Napa Valley Middle Schools is to provide an inclusive, equitable, responsive, and rigorous education by facilitating high quality, meaningful learning experiences where connection is a priority and students are encouraged to contribute. They learn to advocate and do the work of discovering who they are. So as we went through this process, having an environment where students felt included and a part of the school was important, having equal access or equitable access to programs and whether that's courses or after school or clubs, field trips, whatever that may be, having that equitable experience. Being responsive to our students' needs, whether that's socially, emotionally, or within the classroom or outside of the classroom, that when they have a need, we're responsive. And then making sure that students are challenged in their education at whatever level it is that they are at. So those were key descriptors that came through. Having meaningful experiences for our students in our middle school, whether that's real world experiences through career days or opportunities, or it's meaningful learning experiences within the classroom. And then making sure that students feel connected. One of the pieces that really came through for our students in our student panel was feeling a connection to their peers and feeling a connection to their teacher or their staff members at their school. And then lastly, helping them learn how to advocate for their own needs and discovering who they are. It's a big transition as students make it through middle school, 6th to 8th grade. Many of you have experienced that with your own child and yourself. And so that transition that they make, the growth that they make developmentally from 6th grade to 8th grade, really ensuring that they have opportunities to discover who they are as they head into high school and have more opportunities to explore and possibly go deeper with some of their experiences. Spent some time developing design principles around, if we do this, what do we value? And so some of the values that came from this design process was making sure that we center growing and evolving in response to the changing needs of our community, regardless of discomfort. So being able to make hard decisions, live into those hard decisions, even if it means that it's uncomfortable, but that we're going to make sure that we're doing right by our community and responding to our students. That we provide equal opportunities for our students to access programs, services, and experiences. So I think an important example of this is as our students who are English learners in our schools, do they have access to programs in our schools? And this came up in our West Ed report that you'll hear more about as we share this year. Do they have that? And if not, how can we provide that? Wanting to give all students the opportunity through chances and tools in order to ensure that they can reach their full potential, no matter what their level is. This 4th one came through from our students in particular. We value equitable grading and assessment practices. Has a significant impact on their confidence and their how they view themselves. And so this definitely came through from our students. That we value flexible, joyful learning that prioritizes non-academic skills. So making sure, like, I think that transition, our students come in as 10, 11-year-olds into middle school, and that fun and that play, making sure that that's an integral part of their school experience as they filter through our middle schools. And then lastly, making sure that we invite and integrate marginalized voices at the center of our experiences and perspectives. And so making sure that the voices of our youth, the voices of our families are, no matter who you are valued and a part of our experience and a part of our school system. So those are drafts that were generated, and next week we're going to come back together and review feedback that we get. So tonight I have a couple of questions and would love to hear responses from you so I can take the interests of our English learner families back to our design team next week. And so we'll spend some time tonight. If you have questions, please feel free to ask those as well during this time. But really, and yet really with that, opening up the floor to see what do we currently do at middle schools to live out some of what you see in the vision that you would like to see continued. What do we want to make sure as we design that we retain and keep in this experience for our students, especially our students who are English learners? And then what do you wish we were doing to live out this vision at the middle school level? What do you wish, and in particular for our English learners, what do you wish was there, what existed? And so I'll pause for a minute. I can take questions and or you can provide feedback at this time in response to those questions.
I don't see any hands up. I would like to ask, oh, never mind. Norma, go ahead.
Ms. Reddy, with all this of the the Future Academy, my only concern or question would be that for now, it is my understanding, and several parents have brought that up in a meeting I had, will there be enough room for like the students that are transferring, because it's already completely full? So how's that going to work?
The new Middle School Language Academy is not completely full. We haven't gone through enrollment yet, so
but not in terms of I'm not saying in terms of enrollment. Like right now, the students that are already there, like how are you guys planning like to I don't know what the correct word might be, but it just seems like it's already full. So how are the ones that are transitioning that might have priority or not, because of like going to Pueblo Vista and NVLA? It's just a little bit confusing in that sense to me. I'm trying to get that picture.
So the students who are currently at, and Pat, I don't know if you unmuted and wanted to respond first.
I can go ahead. So the students that are currently, the students that are 5th and 6th graders at Pueblo Vista and NVLA would be going to the new Middle School Language Academy. The students that are currently attending what is called River Middle School, the 8th graders are going to be going on to high school. The 7th graders have been guaranteed a spot at River Middle, at what's going to be the new Middle School Language Academy. And the 6th graders that are there would have to enter the same process everyone else who's not at Pueblo Vista or NVLA through open enrollment, which will start November 1st. So there is still space at the Middle School Language Academy. The students from Pueblo Vista and NVLA will not necessarily fill up the entire space of 600 students.
Additionally, Pat, I think the Harvest students who are in the dual language immersion program in 7th grade will also have the opportunity to move over to the new Middle School Language Academy to continue their dual language immersion experience.
Yes. So if you currently have a 7th grader at Harvest that's in the dual language program, they would also get priority to attend the new Middle School Language Academy.
And to be fair, I really want to make sure that this group focuses on the question that is brought to this group. We want to make sure that we give our input as families from English learners. And can you please repeat the question, or if you can leave your screen so we can see the question? Thank you. And Yolanda, you have your hand up.
Sí, mi pregunta era porque para inscribir a mi hija en esta transición, las inscripciones para la escuela secundaria van a empezar este 8 de octubre, ¿cierto?
Does someone want to?
November 1st.
Thank you.
Entonces, hasta esa fecha tengo que yo llenar todo por línea porque yo deseo que mi hija vaya a la nueva academia. Entonces, como el aviso todavía aparecía octubre 8, era mi confusión. Gracias.
Ariadna.
Con respecto a las preguntas que hacen, ¿qué hacemos actualmente en las escuelas intermedias que les gustaría que continuáramos? Creo que el estar extendiendo el nivel de grados en las escuelas creo que es una práctica que en Latinoamérica a la que estamos acostumbrados y es donde vemos que a lo mejor los niños no están lo suficientemente maduros para aventarlos a lo que ya es esta independencia de la escuela de intermedia. Entonces, como una visión latinoamericana, es algo que a mí me gusta muchísimo y que ojalá se pudiera extender a otras escuelas elementarias que se pudiera adaptar, ¿no? Ahorita plantean Browns Valley y Shear y la verdad es que es algo que me parece extraordinario. Y cuando dicen qué desearía que hiciéramos para que esta visión sea una realidad en las escuelas intermedias, me gustaría nada más como saber más a qué se refieren.
Director Reddy, you want to answer? She's out.
It's because
Did
I
you
don't
hear the translation?
Yeah.
So I can't, so Elva, if you could help with translation because I'm screen sharing, I can't get back onto the interpretation channel.
Ariadna wanted to know if you can paint a broader picture, go more into detail into what do you mean by what we want for, what would you want us to do to make this vision a reality?
So it's more understanding your second question.
So what experiences, what programs, what ideas do you have for, as we look across our middle schools, what would you like to consistently see in particular to our, or specifically to our English learner students, or generally as well, but because of the topic tonight, our focus tonight, what would you like to see?
En cuanto a esa segunda pregunta, creo que los programas de middle school tienen una diversidad de clases, de optativas, y pues lo único es que si están tomando la decisión de llevar este programa a estas escuelas como es Browns Valley y Shear, que sea igual de rico el programa educativo, ¿no? Que todas estas clases opcionales, aún tomando la decisión de que las están llevando a una escuela elementaria que se está extendiendo, ¿no? Que se siga conservando este modelo de aprendizaje global.
Just a reminder, please mute your microphones. Recordatorio, por favor, desactiven su micrófono si es que no están hablando. I also have Esbeidi. I don't know if she wants to share something, and she is a DELAC rep. She's just on the attendee side. I also see Vanessa Barbosa's hand.
permission to speak.
Go ahead.
So for when I was in middle school, and I saw other kids having fun with all the extracurricular activities, maybe art, music, all of those ones, and I was stuck with ELD. It really frustrated me that I couldn't get those privileges. And I feel the same way with my daughter. She's still in, English as a second language. And it's like those barriers that they have, that the regular kids have, and then us as, English learners that don't have it. I think that's like taking those privileges away from those kids. So I'm not sure how we could get those kids into those extracurricular activities as well as the regular kids. So, mi pregunta y sugeración, mi sugeración fue que yo cuando estaba en middle school en Redwood, yo miraba a todos los muchachos y todos los niños estar en banda, estar en arte, y yo nunca estuve en eso. Y siento que nuestros niños o nuestros hijos les quitan ese privilegio. Y quisiera saber qué se pudiera hacer al respecto de esto. Thank you.
Gracias, Vanessa.
I appreciate that feedback, and that's one of the areas as we look at programming. It came through in our West Ed report and also came up in our first design process. And so I'll definitely take that feedback back to our committee around how do we make sure that they have access to those opportunities and experiences.
Chris, I don't know if you can activate Esvedi or give her the ability to turn on her mic. She is a DELAC rep.
She can now talk.
Hola, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Esvedi. Tengo una pregunta ahorita que decían sobre la nueva escuela que se va a abrir. Mi hijo está en la West Park en 5º grado. Yo quería saber si ellos son como idóneos o ellos pueden ir a la nueva escuela que se va a abrir como de la nueva como bilingüe o no.
I can't tell. Is she?
It's hard. Asking if she can. Go ahead.
Yes. You have to do the open enrollment, which starts November 1st, into the Middle School Language Academy, and we are hopeful to have a name for it next week. And then through the open enrollment process, it might be a lottery if there's a more demand than there is space. But you would know by, I think, December or January if he or she got in.
Vanessa Barbosa, I see your hand up. I also see Julia, but we're going to go with Vanessa first.
Oh, no, I already spoke. Sorry.
Julia. Sorry about that.
Hi, thank you. Yes, I'm just wanting to go back to what Ariadna, and I think there was also another person mentioning the same about just having more options, such as electives, when it comes to our students or English learners. And I know that that's something that has came up quite frequently in past meetings. The other thing also is I was trying to take note of how students would be, or what options students would have with the redesign. I'm wondering, I'm not sure if it's needed because I wasn't really able to write everything down. But I know this is something that was being explained to the question that Norma had. But I'm wondering, is it possible to maybe have like a flow chart? I think that would sort of help us visualize how kids can, what options kids would have. Not sure if that makes sense. Then the other thing also is going back to what Ariadna had mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, as far as long-term learners, that's also an interest of mine and also one of my goals that I have for this year, just learning more on that topic and what interventions are going to be in place or have been in place for that. But I'm wondering, I know that it was mentioned that that's the topic that will be discussed in the meeting today, but I'm just wondering if maybe, has there been any maybe talk about maybe implementing more intensive intervention for these kids? I mention it because my kids, both of my kids are, I think they could be considered long-term learners, and my daughter just became a 6th grader at Shear. So I'm wondering maybe thinking about some kind of maybe pilot program for these kids, especially the ones that will be going into 6th grade, but yet haven't transitioned out of ELD. Just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you for that. As we look at students, the principle around students meeting their full potential, prevention and intervention is key to that.
I do have to be mindful of the time. We need to make sure we move to the last topic on our agenda. I do apologize if I didn't get to you. Again, we just have a lot of things to cover, and especially if you've already shared a concern or asked a question, I just want to be able to cover all the topics in the meeting. We want to go ahead and introduce Ms. Pat Andy Jennings. She will be presenting the ESSER funding.
Thank you, President Marquez. Director Eddie, can I, thank you, everyone.
And can I remind everybody to lower your hands because this is a new topic? Thank you.
So tonight I will be presenting on what's called ESSER 3. It's the implementation plan for the ESSER 3. And I will talk a little bit about what that means, because we have a lot of plans and a lot of acronyms in education. So tonight I'll talk what is ESSER 3, a little bit around what the funds can be used for and how we broke the funds into 2 categories. And then also how we're going, our proposal for using the funding. And then when we get to the end, there will be an opportunity to ask questions and give some input into how we are using these funds. These are not new dollars, but they're dollars for, hold on a sec. They're dollars that were part of the, what's called the elementary and secondary emergency relief funds. That's where ESSER comes from. That's where the ESSER comes from. And this is meant to support the return to in-person learning. These funds also can be used between now and September 30th of 2024. And so we have several years in which to use this, this funding source. So we are using, you probably have seen me because I presented our strategic plan was developed by the school board and with this direction from the superintendent 3 years ago. And so that plan is what we are using as part of developing this plan, as well as the LCAP, the Local Control Accountability Plan that was shared with the DELAC committee last spring. And then we're also using the plan, it's the Expanded Learning Opportunities Plan that was, I believe, also shared with DELAC last spring. And so with those 3 plans, it helped us to develop this one. And what we try to do is each of those plans has a certain timeline for the money to be spent. And so we're trying to make sure that we spend the money so that we have some money for year 1, some money for year 2, and some money for year 3. And you will see that that's how we are arranging it. We have 2 categories. We have category 1, which is to return to safe in-person learning. So all of the things that are we have to spend money on to return back to in-person learning. And that includes maintenance and operations, facilities work, all of the personal protective equipment, things like that that allow us to return to safe in-person learning. And then the second part of those funds, or the other category, is we've put aside 20% to address learning recovery or any unfinished learning from the prior year. And again, we have almost 3 years to expend, this money. So in order for us to return to safe in-person learning for the next few years, we've allocated $9.8 million. Some of that goes for the additional to cover teaching staff or classified staff who are not managers. And then we also have some managers that are funded out of this, either in year 1, year 2, or year 3. And then also contracts that we have with different companies, whether it's to do testing, whether it's to provide additional services, and then also materials, and then what's called indirect costs. It's just like the cost, what it costs us to sort of do business. And then also the, oh wow, I'm doing it in Spanish, like I'm reading the Spanish slides. And then the last one is the tools that we're using for us to help us stay in person, to learn in person. And these are the examples of things that that fall into those categories. So it's the cost. We had to increase the amount we were paying our substitute teachers to make sure we had enough substitute teachers. Also, we've had to increase the cost that we're paying like teachers for after school work and things like that. So that's one of the examples of how this money is being spent. Also, just the costs associated with COVID-19, whether it's increased unemployment insurance cost, some of that's coming out of these funds. And then we've had to increase our enrollment center, the staffing at the enrollment center, as we've had students. I heard one of the parents talk about her student enrolling in independent study. And so we had quite an increase in the number of students who enrolled in independent study, and some of the funding went to pay for additional staffing and teachers to support independent study program. Extra hours that our employees have to work because of making sure that to keep the school safe and clean. And then also again, the sub hub, we've assigned subs to some of the larger schools. So they're paid every day to be there to cover some of the absences, and that sometimes can be an additional expense. We've also additional campus security and other services that go toward making sure that we stay safe for in-person learning. The other category is for unfinished learning or learning recovery. And so some of that is in hiring people or helping to pay for some people, and that's $1.8 million. There's indirect cost, and then there's also the tools that we purchased that you probably have used in your home, whether it's Dreambox, whether it's Seesaw, whether it's not Elevation, language, what's that? Mr. Manning, help me. Mr. Manning, help me out. The language, what we use for our students.
Imagine Language and Literacy.
Thank you. Imagine Learning and Literacy, as well as Rosetta Stone. So those tools will be covered in this funding as well. So it's we also, so in terms of what those services look like, it's the intervention teachers we have, the teachers on special assignment. We also increased our library media technicians. They're working more hours, so our school libraries are open longer so that students have access to books and are able to check out books much more than they could in the past. We've also have plans to increase our paraprofessionals that will work with students with what's called who have like more learning needs, tier 2 and tier 3. And then help with students who just have additional needs, and some of the tools that we've used regarding that, especially around assessment and our STAR Renaissance learning. So those are the things that we are using, and it may not be funded using this funds this year for a particular thing, but year 2 or year 3, so that we can have programs and services that last more than 1 year. So we're trying to sort of spend the money over time and not all at one time. And I will take any questions or comments. And President Marquez, I'll rely on you to call on people.
I see Ariadna Rodriguez. Your hand is up.
¿Hay alguna forma, o sea, sobre todo porque nosotros estamos interesados en los estudiantes del idioma inglés, ¿hay alguna forma de poder rastrear como un presupuesto, la asignación de recursos que se van a nuestras escuelas para realmente garantizar que nuestros estudiantes se vean beneficiados por esta asignación de recursos que se está dando? Porque como que mi sentimiento es que se asignan recursos, pero no sé si hay una comprensión total de cómo se están utilizando estos recursos para enfocar a o sea, para beneficiar a estos estudiantes que lo necesitan.
Thank you. That's a really good question. And where you can find that information is either your school's, like what they call their SIPSA, School Plan for Student Achievement. And that is one of, and actually as part of your ELAC at your site, you give input in terms of how the dollars that are given to the school are spent. So your principal should have that information. This money has not yet been allocated out to school sites yet, but some of the other funding we got, the Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant, some of that funds were allocated to the school site. And they got funding to help with purchase materials that had to do with science, technology, engineering and math, or visual and performing arts that they could spend. And typically principals might bring that to the school site council. And that's where those conversations and discussions happen on how to spend the money that's been allocated to the school site. But a very good question.
Gracias.
I also see Susana Garcia's hand up, but she is under participant.
She can talk.
You can unmute your mic, Susana. I will come back to Susana if it needs, if I need to. I have Norma's hand up.
Yes, I wanted to propose that we have a in the second DELAC meeting a part 2 in terms of with our suggestions, because I want to give it more thought, especially with the question about the vision for middle schools. I mean, just to touch on that really quick, I would like to see more dual language immersion programs in general. And that's a good idea. I mean, the Institute's a good idea, but we want to see more of those opportunities and have more options. And I think Julia mentioned a little bit about options. And in terms of what the ESSER3, I wanted to get a little bit of clarification in terms of Ms. Jennings mentioned that they're hiring, or there are more teachers being involved, but with the intervention part of it, are we going to be seeing more like tutoring with the core subjects, those intensive supports? How is that going to be looking like in our school sites? I mean, I know there's already the ELD support system at school sites, but in terms of like more support on top of the the allocated funds that are going to be set forth? Is there like, I'm sure there's already a plan, but how is that going to be distributed with the tutoring portion, especially with the core subjects? And if we could have a couple of minutes in the next meeting to kind of touch more on that, because I want to really have more time to look at the slides and give it more thought and jot more ideas, which I think are very important. And also the statistical information, I would like to have some layout of statistical data so I could provide a more informed comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz. And so there are plans in the works. One of the challenges, though, just to be very transparent, that we've had is that, you know, we've had issues hiring people right now in terms of like substitute teachers and even some of our classified positions in order to sort of staff like these after school learning hubs, which is what we wanted to do, and have a place for students to go after school to get additional help and support. And so we do have plans to start that this year. It's just a matter of getting the school year up and running, and then making sure that our teaching staff is fully, are fully staffed. And so we do have a plan for that. And then I'm trying to remember what the other question was that I wanted to address, but there is a plan to do that.
Is there a way you can send the statistics she was talking about, where she can get this information so she can review it and feel more at ease with being prepared for the next meeting? And I'm sure that many of us feel the same way.
Which, what statistics or what data points do you feel like you would want sort of provided to DELAC?
Norma?
Yes, the plan itself, I mean, I have to review it so I could say, okay, I want this specific data, but more like when I know you are doing, you've been doing a great job with bringing numbers, right, in terms of like money allocated. But I need like to review all this and then be able to say, hey, I like in previous meetings, like for instance, an example, with long-term English learners, like how many of those do we have at each site, in terms of them meeting their goals of reclassification. And of course, that's an important subject, because you guys are developing new ways with the master plan. So that's just one example, like, you know, that type of data. So each school site, where do they start off, like something like where we could see like a visual of where they're starting, how many years it's taken them to exit out or get reclassified, something like that, a chart like that, so I could kind of have like a bigger picture. That's just an example. I mean, that type of data is what I'm referring to.
Okay, and I do know that as part of the WestEd study, there was some data around our English learner population and our number of LTELs. We can look through that and see what we can either send out to our DELAC or post on the website that would give some give you some more opportunities to sort of digest that information and see where the possible needs are. And Director Manning or Director Eddy, did you want to add to that?
I think to speak to the middle school piece in particular, we'll continue to give updates throughout the process. One method of communication I failed to address earlier is we do have a specific email address that you can email questions in between, and a staff member will respond to those for you as well.
Thank you for your time. It is 8:02, and I just saw 2 more hands go up. So I do want to make sure that maybe we can give it 8 more minutes max to say, because we still have to open for comments. Mr. Manning, do you want to go ahead and or I don't know who I should ask to be okay to extend it, even if it's a few minutes?
Yeah, that's fine. You can make that decision, and then we can open up for public comment after.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I want to go ahead with Julia, because I know Ariana, I see your hand up, but I know you've commented on this subject already. So go ahead, Julia.
Yes, thank you, Elba. It actually is not related to the ESSER. I think that's how you pronounce it. ESSER 3. It has nothing to do with that. It's actually an item that I brought up before. I'm wondering if I can ask.
Elba Marquez, the president of the.
Hello?
Chris, you're not. There you go.
So Julia, if we can just hold off on that one, as soon as we're done with the subject, I'll go back to you. Ariadna? Sure. Thank you, sorry.
Sí, Elba. Bueno, aquí mi comentario es el estudio que hizo la empresa o la organización West.
Ariadna, perdón que te interrumpa. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. For the translator, can you go ahead and still say Ariadna's item through your line, because parents are not hearing it because she is on the English line. So just want to make sure that the parents on the Spanish line can still hear what she's saying. Adelante, Ariadna. Perdón por interrumpirte.
Sobre los recursos del plan de gastos y el estudio que hizo la organización WestEd, sería importante también considerar, porque todos los puntos que trajo esta organización, creo que hay puntos muy importantes y sería importante como reservar parte de este gasto para estas sugerencias que están haciendo ellos, ¿no? Que un ejemplo que a mí se me quedó fue el tema de no sacar a los aprendices del inglés de sus clases normales, sino reforzar ya sea en las mañanas o en las tardes con clases adicionales para nivelarlos y que puedan acreditar y tener el nivel que se requiere. Entonces, si desde el presupuesto, si desde el plan de gastos ya tenemos consideradas estas opciones que nos está dando esta organización, yo creo que también valdría tener una bolsa, ¿no? Para poder echar a andar el proyecto de WestEd, que realmente tiene puntos muy, muy acertados de lo que se podría estar haciendo por parte del distrito con todas las escuelas. Es una
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. I agree that is definitely, they're very good points, and we can absolutely do something we've heard like really loud and clear the need to have ELD offered in some other way so students still get their elective and still have that, and also that students are able to get reclassified as English proficient. So we are, definitely digging in this year and really pushing that as a goal.
And can I add to that regarding our just a staff member that we've added to our team at the district level is an instructional TOSA, a teacher on special assignment, who is Spanish speaking and also a former teacher in our district who taught English language development at the high school level and supported it at the middle school level. And so bringing her expertise on board to do some of the foundational work, supporting our English language development teachers, is something that we have benefited from putting that staff member in place through some of this funding.
Thank you. All of the topics on our agenda have been covered. I want to go ahead and let Julia speak on what she wanted to bring to the table. Go ahead, Julia.
Yes, thank you, Elba. Yes, I wanted to just bring back, I know that in the past I've mentioned about the newcomers program. I'm wondering if there's any updates on that.
Mr. Manning, would that be something you can talk on?
So an update on the newcomers program. So that's something that we would be looking at. That we would look at in terms of additional classes and staffing in the elementary level. The students are in the elementary level. The students are in their homeschool, and then they're provided with the English language development throughout the day. And then we have Imagine Language and Literacy, which is used for our newcomers, and we have instructional assistants who assist with newcomers. So at the elementary level, it's more embedded typically. And so I don't know if Director Ray, you want to talk about what a newcomer program might look like at the secondary level?
Yes, so we have the secondary courses for our students. So students are enrolled in their English course, and then they have an additional English language development course, and that's leveled. And so our newcomers would be in that particular course and would have their language needs addressed in there, while also working on some of what they would need in their other courses for more content level knowledge. That's some of the work that our academic specialist, Kelly Miller, is doing with our English language development teachers around those various levels. What are their language needs and how can we support them at that level during that time?
Yes, the reason why I was asking is, as I mentioned, I do have my nephew who's in 10th grade, and from the beginning, that was something that I've been checking on with him to see how he felt, if he was supported. And I do want to say thank you. I have noticed a different based on conversations that came up in our prior meetings. I feel that there's been a change. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. And I know that my nephew also has shared that there's an ELD and also an ELD lab. Is that something different that was implemented this year, or was that in place already before?
So that model is particular to a school site, and it's in place. It was in place before actually. Kelly Miller was a part of teaching in that model. And so I appreciate that feedback as we look at what needs to be consistent across our English learner programs at the secondary level. I think that's really important feedback to, as she's bringing those staff members together across the different school sites, because often it's like one class that they teach or two classes. And so she's trying to build that community, what we call community of practice, where our teachers can come together across schools and share what's working and what support they need. That I'll take that feedback back to her. To clarify for others that are on, the lab is students have their language support in that particular course, but then they also have support through different models of like tutorial, being able to come together and get specific help in their other courses based on some AVID strategies that have crossed over from AVID into the ELD program at Napa High School.
Thank you.
And Julia, I know we're over time, and I apologize, President Marquez, but I was wondering if there are any other suggestions or any other needs that you see that we could work to sort of provide, especially for our newcomers.
I mean, I do have a lot of ideas. Is that something that I can maybe bring back at the next meeting?
Yes, please, because it is something, it is an area that I think we have tremendous opportunities to grow in terms of how we're supporting our newcomers. And I would love to hear what ideas you have. And so whether it's at the DELAC or if it's a separate meeting or phone call where you have an opportunity to share with me or Director Reddy around newcomer support. So
no, thank you. Thank you. I will. I'll get back to you. Thank you.
To add to that, just how easy it is that we can forget what things are there. Julia has been part of DELAC. She's been an involved parent for a long time, and she's at the platform to be able to bring this to the surface. But with a family that just got here and people might not know the language, might not know how to connect, this is the information we are missing. And thank you, Julia, for bringing it up. I mean, it's amazing that you have that opportunity with your nephew, but it's very it's not the same with the family. If the whole family is coming here first all together, we're not really going to have a lot of parents that are going to jump on board and bring this to the table. So it is 8:12. I do apologize if I did not get to you. And I just want to say that all of the presentations or the topics that were on our agenda have been completed. So I have to open for public comments. That means the attendees can raise their hand or I don't know if we give them permission to speak. What we can do is we let the attendees who are not DELAC representatives have 2 minutes to speak. We don't respond to the comments, we just hear them. So if you don't hear back from us, it's not that we're ignoring you, it's just we're giving you the opportunity to to bring some of your concerns so we can discuss this. I don't know if we, Mr. Manning, if we discuss to them separately, if we reach out to them, or if this is something that's brought to the next meeting.
We listen and then we take that in, and if it would be something that we would want to agendize at the next meeting, we could do that.
Thank you. And just in case you don't know who the attendees are, I have Camila Calderon Solorio, have Claudia, Karina Cervante, Carla Salazar Martinez, Marta Franco, Peter Hartnack, and Esbeidi, but I know she is a DELAC rep. If you guys have anything to share, Chris, I don't know if they're allowed to.
They can share as long as they raise their hands. I will know who to allow to talk.
Thank you. Okay, I was saving a few minutes for the attendees to raise their hand. I do see Norma Ortiz's hand up, and she always brings something good to the table. So Ms. Ortiz, you have the microphone.
Thank you. Just as a future agenda item, I want to get some updates if there have been any possible state guidelines in terms of differences, or has the reclassification process been the same? Any updates with that for a future agenda item? Just with so many changes that we're seeing with state, have those guidelines, are they still current? Can that be something that in terms of the reclassification, can that be brought up in a future agenda item, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz. We have reached the end of our meeting. The meeting is adjourned at 8:15, only 15 minutes over our scheduled time. So that's definitely something to celebrate. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your patience, your input, just being here, just being present. I know, just getting our camera on or just turning on or speaking on the microphone. I appreciate all that you bring to the table. And I am looking forward to seeing you on our next meeting that is going to be held on January 26th. I do want to let you know that in case you guys have any ELAC meetings that you want me to be part of, I am happy to go support. For those of you that are new to this role, if you guys ever want to reach out to me, my email has been sent to you. You can always ask the person on your site that recommended you or that guided you to this role. They can have my contact information. And I just look forward to working with you, representing you in the best possible way that I can. And we will see you next meeting. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.